Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'll be sharing with you guys how I made this cowl neck dress. So if it's something you'd like to recreate, please keep on watching and let's get started. So to make this dress, I'll be drafting a basic pattern first, and right now I'll just go ahead and draw 1 inch at the top of my paper. So next I'll be taking my shoulder circumference. My shoulder divided by 2 is 8 inches, and next I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So I'll just go ahead and connect that 1 inch that I marked down. I'll connect it like so. So the next measurement I'll be taking is my armhole circumference, and to get that, all you need to do is to divide your bust circumference by 6 and add 1.5 inches to it. So mine is approximately 8 inches, and I will just use my ruler to connect from my shoulder slope down to this 8 inches. So right from that 8 inches, I'll just go ahead and draw a straight line like so. I'm just trying to get my armhole curve. So right now I'm going to divide that 8 inches into 2, and it will give me 4 inches. So I'll come in by about half an inch for my armhole curve, and I'll go ahead and use my ruler to draw a straight line from that half inch I marked. I'll just go ahead and draw it like this. At this point, I didn't know my phone stopped recording, but what I did was to divide my bust circumference by 4, and whatever it gave me, I just marked it and I used my curved ruler to make a curve. So right now, I'm marking my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. So I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to connect. So next, I'll be marking my shoulder to my waist measurement, which is 16 inches. Then I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect as well. So I'll just go ahead and label it. That's my bust point and that's my waistline. So next I'll be taking my hip line, and what I'll do is to come down from my waistline by 9 inches. You can use either 8 or 9 inches, that's the standard measurement, but I'll be using 9 inches, and I'll go ahead and also use my ruler to connect. So at this point, I'm going to use my marker to trace this line so that they can be very visible. So right now, I'm trying to get the length of the dress. So I'll be marking it straight from my shoulder line all the way to where I want the length to get to. So as you can see, I've drawn the line for the dress length and I've labeled it. So the next thing I'll do is to divide my bust circumference by 4, and whatever it gives me, I'm going to mark it on my bust point. So my bust circumference is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. That's why I marked the 9 inches on my bust point. So on my waistline, I divided my waist circumference by 4 and it gave me 8 inches. And as you can see, I already marked that. And my hip as well, my hip divided by 4 is about 11 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that as well. So right now I'll go ahead and connect my bust point to my waist like so. That's the dot I marked. I'll just go ahead and connect like so. Then I'll use my hip curve to connect my waist to my hip like so. So I'll also go ahead to connect my hip to the length of the dress, and I want it to be a little bit flay at the down part. I don't want it to be straight. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my ruler to connect like so. As you can see, it has like an A-line shape. It's not fitted. So I'll just go ahead and mark like so. So if you want yours to be a little bit fitted, all you need to do is remove about 1.5 inches from your hip circumference towards the down part. So that's all you need to do, but I want mine to be a little bit free at the down part. So right now, I'll just go ahead and connect my bust circumference that I took on my bust point. I'll just connect it to my armhole. It's the same measurement I took at my bust point that I took at my armhole. So I'm just connecting it. So it's time to draft the neckline for this dress, and I'll just come up from my armhole at about 4 inches, as you can see. So I'll just draw a straight line like so to connect. So once that is done, I'll take my allowances for the dress, and I'm just going to be using about 1 inch for the allowance. So I'll just mark 1 inch across like so. You can take 1.5 inches if you want, but I'm just going to be using 1 inch for my allowance. So I'll just take it all the way down. Then I'll just use my ruler to connect. So right now, I'll just go ahead and label this neckline. This is the cowl neckline. Then I'll cut it out. Remember, we don't need that upper part. I just drafted it so you don't get confused. So I'll just cut it all the way like so. So before we draft the cowl neck design for the front, I'll be using the pattern I just cut out to cut out the back. And as you can see, I'm using this silk-like material for the cowl neck. So if you want to draft this pattern, you have to use something that will drape a little bit, maybe something a little bit stretchy, or a silk material. So I'll just fold this material into two like so. So since this is the back, I'm just going to go ahead and fold this part. That's the bust line. That's the bust point, I mean. I'm just going to fold it like so. Then I'll go ahead and leave about 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. If you're using a stretchy material, you don't need to have a zip at the back of the dress. But this material is not stretchy, so for ease, I'm going to have to add my zipper allowance to it. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So I want the back to have some kind of curve, and I want it to be a little bit deep. So I'll just go down by 5 inches. So from that 5 inches, I'll use my curved ruler to just make a curve like so. So I decided to use 4 inches instead because I felt it would be too low. So if you want your ears to be lower than that, you can use 5 inches. So I just came up by 1 inch to make it 4 inches. So right now, I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So since this is the back, I'm just going to go ahead and divide it into two. And this is what it will look like after cutting it into two. You can see the shape. So for the front, I'm going to be using a slash and spread method for this. But before I start doing that, this particular place I'm pointing at is my chest line. So I'll just draw a straight line like so, and I will label it as my chest line. So right now, I'll go ahead and mark about 4 or 3 straight lines depending on how you want to slash it. So I'll just go ahead and mark about 3 straight lines like so. So right now, I'll go ahead and I'll start slashing, and I'll start from that chest line that I marked. Please make sure that when you're slashing, you don't cut through the paper. So just carefully slash. So you can see what it looks like once I open it up. So right now I'm going to get a fresh paper so that I can spread on it. So I'm just going to open it up like so. So right now I'll start spreading, and I'll be using 1.5 inches for each of the line that I slashed through. You can use 2 inches if you want, depending on how full you want the cowl neck to be. So I'll be using 1.5 and I'll just use my paper tape to tape it down. So please take your time while doing this so the paper doesn't cut through. So right now I'll just use my ruler to trace it out like so. So I'll just trace it all the way to this end. Then I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I also cut out the armhole as well. While cutting the armhole, I left about 1/4 inch for allowance. So I'm just going to use my paper tape to secure these parts together. So right now I'm going to trim out this excess, but I'll be drawing a straight line first of all before trimming it out. So I'll just go ahead and trim it out. So right now I'll place my pattern paper on my material to cut it out, and as you can see the material is on fold, and I'll use my pin to secure it so that it doesn't shift. As you know, this material is kind of slippery, so I'm just using my pin to secure it. So right now I'll go ahead and cut it out the exact way the pattern is drafted. So right now I'll just go ahead and remove the pin, and this is what our front pattern will look like. So right now I'll be cutting a facing for the front and back pattern, and I'll just fold a material into two like so. So right now I'll place the front pattern on this folded material like so. So when placing it, leave about 1.5 inches from your armhole like so. Then I'll pin it down so it doesn't shift. So after pinning, I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So I also went ahead to cut out a facing for the back as well. Sorry my camera didn't capture that part, but I'll show you when I'm sewing it. So now it is time to sew, and as you can see, this is the facing for the front, and this is the one for the back, both of them. And what I'll do right now is that I'll go ahead and weave the down parts. As you can see, I'm done weaving. If you don't have a weaving machine, you can just hem it. You can hem the front and the back, but I'll prefer to weave mine. That's why I did it like this. So I've gone ahead to cut out the strap of this dress, and as you can see, it is about 21 inches long and 2 inches wide. So you can see the way I measured it is 21 inches long, as you can see, and it's 2 inches wide. So right now I'll fold it to the right side like so, and I'll sew it with about 1/4 inch. So I went ahead to trim it out before turning it to the other side, and as you can see, I'm going to be using a thread and needle to turn it to the other side because I won't be able to turn it easily. So I'll just use my thread and needle to tack it a little bit on one side like so. Just watch what I'm doing. So this is what it looks like after turning it. I'll just cut out the thread. So now it is time to attach my material together. and this is the front part. So right now I'll place the straps at the edge of the armhole like so. So I'll just use my pin to secure it. So once I'm done with that, I'm just going to place my facing on it. That's right side facing the right side like so. I'll just place the facing on it. So right now I'm going to be attaching the facing, the strap and the main material together. And when you're doing that, don't take the strap all the way to the edge so that you can leave allowance for turning the main fabric and the facing to the other side. So you can see I left about 1/4 of an inch at the edge. So I'll do the same thing at the other side as well. So right now I'm going to use my pin to secure these parts as well so that when I'm sewing it, it does not shift at all. So right now I'll just go ahead and sew the edges all the way. That's right from the armhole. I'll just use 1/4 of an inch to sew it. So this is what it looks like after sewing it. I flipped it to the other side and you can see the outcome. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the back as well. You can start from the armhole if you want to, or you can just stitch from the neck part. So this is what it looks like after stitching. So just make sure you bring out all the edges. Just make sure you bring out all the edges, and you can go ahead and iron as well. So right now I'll be joining this back piece together. I'll be using the 1.5 inches I left for my zipper allowance to join them together. So once I'm done joining it, I'll go ahead and fix my zip. So right now I'm fixing the zip for the back of the dress. So it is time to attach the front and back piece together, and I'll just place the back on top of the front like so. So right now I'll use my pin to attach the front and back piece together from armhole to armhole. So I'm matching the front armhole to the back armhole like so. So I'm doing the same thing at the other side as well. So I'll just go ahead and use my pin to pin both pieces all the way down. So before sewing it together, I want to attach the strap to the back, and I want it to have like a crisscross at the back. So I'll just go ahead and place it like this. So right now I'm going to mark 4 inches from the edge of the zip like so. So I'll just place 4 inches at the zip part like this, and I'll mark it, and that's where the strap is going to be. So right now I'll use my seam ripper to loosen that part, that place I marked that 4 inches. I'm just going to loosen it a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and fix it inside that space I opened, and I'll use about 1/2 an inch to attach it together, and I'll fix the other side as well. So once I'm done fixing the strap, I'll go ahead and attach the front and back piece together with my body measurements, and that's the end of the video. So all you need to do is just to give it a proper ironing, and you can see how it looks after ironing it. You can see how beautiful and neat it looks. So if you enjoyed the video so far, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can also like and share the video. And we've come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.